But on the topic of merchants of death, I heard Hillary Clinton's in the news too, isn't she?
Yes.
Dog.
All right, so but we got to be careful with this one. I'm not a fan of the conspiracy theories, to be honest. We have this story from 11 Alive. It came out over the weekend. You may have seen it. Alabama anchor who broke Bill Clinton, Loretta Lynch Tarmac story is dead at 45 of an apparent suicide. Now, if you're not familiar with the story, basically Bill Clinton had a meeting with then Attorney General Loretta Lynch on a plane, and Hillary Clinton was under investigation, and the investigation gets dropped, but then they bring it back up. And this forced Loretta Lynch to recuse herself because of a conflict of interest. This reporter, Christopher Sine, then went on to write a book about it. And this was, he was promoting it last year on like Fox News. This was back in, 2016 when this story came out?
2016, when Hillary Clinton was running to be president of the United States.
And now, I'll tell you this first and foremost, I think the conspiracy theory is silly, but people are pointing out the conspiracy theory called the Clinton body count, where they're saying like, look at all these people connected to the Clintons, oh man, and so many have died. And I got to say, I just think it's BS. I really, really do. Absolutely. First of all, let me just point out in this story, first, with respect to the guy's family, I really don't like the idea that this guy, he's got family and kids. He was an anchor, and now people, bring up conspiracy theories. But you know what? People are allowed to talk on the internet. People are allowed to ask questions. If they see patterns, they're allowed to ask questions about it, and then we got to investigate. This guy reported on a story 5 years ago. Five years ago. A little bit longer than 5 years ago. Why? If there really was a conspiracy, what's Clinton like? I will wait 5 years and then get my revenge. No.
Oh, yeah.
But his book was just released a year ago, so that could have been the threat. He said he
still,
received credible threats against his life.
That's true.
He did say that.
He said that last year, and he
Right.
said the threats have started ever since he released that story. He also talked about how he had to move his family multiple times because of these threats.
Right.
He had 3 young children. He had a wife. He was 46 years old, prominently pretty young. Again, I'm not here jumping on any conclusions. I'm not going to tell you what happened. I'm not going to say this happened exactly. I'm just saying some of the preliminary data and information. This is somewhat causing a chilling effect, and a lot of people are bringing up the fact that, Hillary Clinton's, the Clintons, they don't play by the rules. They're corrupted. They were never held accountable for their corruption, and who knows? I mean, another thing that really kind of comes to mind right now is Bill Clinton coming out and saying that the Netflix series House of Cards is 99% real. And in House of Cards, in the first season, they assassinate and kill a journalist.
But let me point this out. What we're talking about is the Clinton body count conspiracy.
There's 46 people on that list.
But it's not correct. So
of course.
So hold on. This guy was getting death threats. Totally believe it. This sounds more like leftist extremists who don't get held accountable, who are mad at this guy because they believe he contributed to Hillary Clinton's loss. If the Clintons were involved in this, they're not going to send him warnings. They're going to be like, here's an email just letting you know, here's our plan.
Right.
It's going to, and look, so about, there's this meme that goes around, this poster, and it's like, here are all the people, the Clintons, who have been associated with the Clintons, who have committed suicide. And some of them are completely, it's like 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. Mm-hmm. It's like he was an accountant at a firm that once consulted Bill Clinton. I'm like, come on, dude.
Yeah.
So look. High-profile political people are going to have tens or hundreds of thousands of connections with various people, and these things might happen. I'll tell you this. I'm not saying I know for sure. I'm saying I err on the side of show me the evidence and show me the proof, and I'll look through it. For this, I think people jump the gun, and the biggest problem I have with any conspiracy is the moment you come out and say, Clinton body count, you've completely discredited yourself in the eyes of anyone who would actually do an investigation. Anybody who would actually who should hear or ask questions, or if you want to inform people and you come out and you jump to the conclusion, people are going to say, okay, you're nuts. What you say is, hey, this guy was reporting on the Clintons. This guy put out a big story. Maybe he was working on another story. He was getting death threats. I think we should investigate it beyond the claims of an apparent suicide. Stop right there. That's where we need to go. We do the investigation. But you know what? I tell you this, man. People need to understand that the majority of premeditated murder is never solved. The majority.
Yeah.
Majority. In Illinois, I think it's like 53%. So it's like they actually do a really good job of tracking down a decent amount, but most of it they can't solve.
Yeah. I agree with you. We shouldn't be jumping to conclusions. At least there should be an investigation. But there's some serious questions that need to be asked here. And
I think every suicide is investigated anyway, so it should be investigated.
The police are investigating this.
Right.
And then as far as the Clinton body count, there was I think NBC Las Vegas actually printed the name of the list. And then people who are on there.
CBS.
CBS.
I think it was CBS.
Are like Barry Seal, Vince Foster, Seth Rich. So again, as you said, causation does not prove, correlation does not prove causation. Doesn't mean it's true. At least we should investigate it. But I think the Clintons should be investigated. They weren't investigated.
Hillary Clinton is the VHS cassette from The Ring.
I'll make something very.
Eventually, you're going out.
I'll make something very simple for you. If you come to me and you say, Tim, Hillary Clinton is an evil, evil woman who would not stop at killing to push her political agenda. You know what I'm going to say to you? Muammar Gaddafi.
Yeah.
But foreign policy is very different.
He died.
Exactly. Yeah. But foreign policy is very different from a local journalist in Alabama who 5 years ago reported on a story, came out with a book last year. I really doubt someone was like, I'll get my revenge 5 years later. I just don't see it. I don't. You know what I think? Often when it comes to conspiracies, people overlook simple solutions.
Sure.
I'm trying to be respectful of this guy's family, but with the people spreading the story around, I want to address it. Here's a guy who broke one of the biggest stories in history 5 years ago. A few years later, he writes a book about the same story he broke 4 years ago. It's like, do you got anything else for us? So now maybe a year after the book, did it sell well? Maybe it didn't. I don't know. Maybe this guy got to touch a piece of the sky. And then after 5 years, he could not recreate that moment, and maybe he got depressed. He got to see over the clouds. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's not impossible. I always like to look at the reporting on what his coworkers had to say, and I read some tweets today that they were saying, this feels surreal. I was just cutting it up with him in the office last night.
They were surprised. There was reports being surprised by this.
This is what you can't get carried away with. That's normal for suicides.
Of course. But also, I get death threats, as well. Yeah. And let's acknowledge, I bet you probably get death threats as well. Let's acknowledge.
I'm still working on it.
Let's be intellectually, let's be intellectually honest.
Let me talk about the Federal Reserve. I'll get it. I'll get it coming.
I'm going to live to be 100 years old.
Yeah.
I'm going to eat right, and I'm very happy. Life's great. The business is booming. I got my friends here. We're hanging out. Never been happier.
I am not suicidal at all, for the record, here testifying in front of everyone. I'll put my hand on the Bible if I have to. I love my life, and I love doing what I do. But
if I ever commit suicide, investigate Hillary Clinton. That's what I'm saying.
But this was a major story. This did have a huge impact on the elections. I think anything's possible here, but I want to try to be respectful to the family members, the young children, the wife, the friends. It's really up to them to speak here on this matter. I don't want to speak too much on it. And I think at least there should be more investigations. And it does set a chilling effect. So I do think that this is possible. Do I have the smoking gun? Do I have the proof? Absolutely not. I don't claim to have. But I think it is possible that this happened because it does set a chilling effect that scares some people. And I think it's probable. But we can
probable?
I think that possible.
But what's possible? It's possible for you to do a backflip right now.
And then break your neck and fall.
It's also possible for him to fall too. Listen.
Exactly. Anything's possible.
Listen. You can track YouTube breakdowns, YouTube mental breakdowns. All you got to do is look at a YouTuber, track their views over the month. And the moment you see a small dip in their views will precipitate a video where they're like, I just can't do this anymore, man. I can't. It's too rough. Not kidding. Yeah. You'll watch their views and something will happen where their views drop from like 1 million per video down to like 800, down to 500. And then all of a sudden the video drops. I'm quitting. I can't take it anymore, because what happens is
they touch the sky.
And they touch the sky. And then every video after that is them getting lower and lower, and they start panicking, saying, why can't I reach that anymore? I saw what was up there. I saw the beautiful reality. And then they break down and they do these videos where they cry and they're like, it's just too, you don't know how stressful it is struggling every day. And it's like, sometimes there are cycles in viewership. You got to calm down. But I've seen people lose their minds, lose their cool, quit their channels, freak out. Now you got a guy who, with all due respect, he was a local anchor, and he comes out. This is a big jump. He went from being a local anchor to the biggest story probably in the world affecting political outcomes. Not only that, imagine, he's saying he's getting death threats. Imagine how much awful stuff was sent to him every day by these Democrats saying like, you are scum, you are violent. He reads it every day. I'm sure it was breaking him down.
Yeah, and he's being accused of being responsible for Orange Hitler for the past 4 years by these nutcases, the Blue Anon types. So yeah, I can understand the pressure that he was under. It's just...
That just seems so much more likely, dude.
It could be both, but there's a reason that the most amount of sociopaths are in Washington, D.C. per capita, and a lot of politicians are cold-blooded killers that literally bring back slavery to Africa, and they don't even care about it.
See, now here's what happens. Hillary Clinton kills Muammar Gaddafi.
Not just that.
Well, no, hold on.
Yeah.
Hillary Clinton says about Julian Assange, can't we just drone the guy? Oh, that was a joke, apparently.
Mm-hmm.
When you get a politician who laughs in the face of war with Russia over the no-fly zone in Syria, people are going to go ahead and assume that the simple solution is that she's a lunatic who kills people.
Yeah.
I still don't. I just think it's like, why would a supervillain like muck their hands up in the nitty-gritty that matters nothing? You know what I mean?
Unless he's doing further research on the story, I don't know. I can't even theorize, honestly. I
think
know.
it's important for people's worldview to see politicians as sociopathic globalist clowns with a monopoly of violence. In my own personal opinion,
No, that's
but
really
that's just my own personal
And
perspective.
here's the truth:
and
you don't need a Clinton body count to hate the Clintons. There's plenty of evidence. There's plenty of
corruption,
destroyed people in the Middle East because of the Clintons too. So
could you imagine if there was like a Secretary of State who ran a foundation that took hundreds of millions of dollars from foreign governments while they were Secretary of State? I mean, like that couldn't possibly happen in this country, could it?
or hang out with the likes of Jeffrey Epstein and ditch Secret Service and jump on the I can't even say it, the Express airplane that they did with Kevin Spacey. Kevin Spacey, also another person. I like to bring these things up because I think they're worth considering. They're worth considering.
The Spacey body count.
But the Kevin Spacey also has 3 people that came out against him and accused him of horrible things that we can't mention in here on this YouTube channel when they were small children. When they were small children, they came out and said Kevin Spacey did unspeakable things to them. 3 people who did that are dead as well. Kevin Spacey, House of Cards, Bill Clinton, I don't know. You can make a lot of jumps and assertions here. I'm not trying to do that. I'm just saying, there's a reason there's so many sociopaths in
This is what you got to be careful for, right? So we had Matt Brainerd on the show. He's the guy who's doing, he was doing the Voter Integrity Project. And what he's doing now, Look at America, is that what it is? So, one of the things he says is that when it comes to like election issues, you get a lot of these silly lawsuits that muck up the system and make it really hard for the actual hard like investigatory work and reform work to fix these systems and fix these problems. That's why I'm very much like, you start with the evidence you have and you seek in evidence and then you find the conclusion. When people come out and they decide, I know it's this story, it actually makes it very difficult to actually get an investigation or to solve whatever actually happened. In this regard, I think people just need to realize we don't live in a movie. I think people's view of the world is very, very tainted by movies. And I'll give you a really simple example. Silencers. Like people in big cities who don't know anything about guns literally believe there's a thing you can screw onto a gun and go pew, pew, pew. Like not a thing. Doesn't exist. They believe it. So when it comes to these conspiracy theories, it's like you got to understand how much of your worldview is tainted by movies to think this stuff is possible. Like go out. I tell you, man, go out to an actual conflict, urban conflict or war. It is so much different than these people that anybody realizes because movies taint their view of the world.
I keep thinking about Putin, and I think it was like 5 years ago, one of his political opponents was in a car driving in Moscow, and they got stopped on the street, and dudes got out and just shot him to death.
On video, yeah.
And so, like, in the United States, there's a lot of, like, death by suicide. We don't really hear of a political opponent getting gunned down in their car in the middle of the day in the United States.
Not yet.
But that doesn't mean people aren't getting killed for their politics. It's just saying we don't see that blatant. So when Putin says Ashley Babbitt was at an assassination, no, dude. When someone gets gunned down in their car in the middle of the day that's running against you politically, that's an assassination. When someone's trespassing and gets killed, that's not an assassination. Just want to be clear about that.
Still
it was
a
a killing, yeah. It could be declared a murder.
It still should be more investigated, and there still should be some repercussions for an officer who shot an unarmed woman.
I'm just waiting for the people that are interested in ending police brutality to have anything to say about Ashley Babbitt. That would be fucking amazing if you guys could just have one thing to say about her. An unarmed woman shot in the neck at point blank range. We don't even know the guy's name still. I mean, am I the only one that's bothered by this? I don't know.
Well, when it's an insurrectionist. So the other issue is we've been having an ongoing insurrection from the far left for a long time now. It's like, I don't even think it's fair to say a year because it's been going on long before that. When they would show up to a Trump rally and start attacking people, throwing explosives and beating people. When were the Democrats ever going to come out? Oh, I'm sorry. They said it was an idea, Jerry Nadler. Oh, it's just an idea. It's not real. Then you get like Joy Ann Reed or whatever coming out and defending, saying, Antifa. Oh, they're not bad people. They're good guys. They're Antifa. It's just the media absolutely protects them. Here's what I'll say. They come out and they're like, Republicans keep saying that it was just tourists on the 6th. And I'm like, okay, that's dumb. I don't care. There were dumb people rioting on the 6th. Antifa was bad as well. They riot. But the media acts like the only people who exist are like 3 Republicans who say dumb things. That's it. And then everyone else's voice is shut out from the argument.
Yep. And everybody that protests for Black Lives Matter, whether they burn stuff or kill people, they're good. And if you go to the Capitol and you get a little bit aggressive with your protesting, you are a terrorist and should spend the rest of your years in getting.
Yeah.
Well, they get bailed out too.
Yeah. Well, that's
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
A lot of like blowing up private property didn't seem to bother people, but as soon as it was public property, like government property, they went.
If you remember
full fist of the law.
last summer, they were talking about, you have insurance. What are you upset about? That was really people's attitude. They were like, of course, if you have to burn down a building to get people to pay attention to your cause, even if it's not a police precinct, it's just some corner store that's owned by probably a black person in the neighborhood. It's just the.
It's an excuse. They don't actually want to defend the people who live there. They just need an excuse for when someone comes asking.
Sure.
Hey, why did you guys burn down that small corner store? They got insurance. Okay, that's it. Give me an answer. Thanks for checking out this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. If you want to see the full show, come back to this channel, youtube.com/TimcastIRL, Monday through Friday at 8 p.m., where you can leave comments and super chat, and we actually will read your comments on the show. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and if you want exclusive members-only content, segments you can't get anywhere else, go to timcast.com, become a member, and we even have full bonus episodes. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.